Hello, Brother Sewing and Crafting family. Angela Wolf here, and another fabulous week. So depending on where in the country you are either stuck in the ice, stuck in the snow, stuck in the wind, and maybe you found a sunshine place, but that's a great time to be sewing. So today we've got a fun show for you. We have a new guest that you haven't met yet. This is very exciting, and you want to know why it's double exciting for me? Because she sews garments. So pop in and say hi, everyone. I can see your comments. Yes, we are live today. And if you missed Thursday's show, Laura, it was pre-recorded, so I haven't gone back to see your comments yet, but Laura made the cutest neck band out of fleece. And I'm thinking pretty much all of us need that right now. So say hi, say where you're from. We're on YouTube, Facebook, and let's bring up Amanda. You are going to love her. Amanda, how are you?
Hi, I'm so excited to be here. My first one.
I am so excited. So everyone, give Amanda a nice warm welcome, the Brother Love, because she is fairly new to Brother and she's in charge. Well, you're in charge of a lot, but you are senior specialist for the educators for sending them to different places. And there's more. I'm going to let you say because it's a lot.
So I work in the education team, and I make sure that all the educators that you have met on Facebook get to events at your local dealer. So if you see a Brother event at your local dealer, I probably helped schedule that. We make sure all the education is out there for both the customers and the dealers. So yeah, all things Brother education over here.
They're going to love this because, you know, the educators, when they come on, everyone loves it because they learn such great techniques, tutorials, projects. So if you're in the comments and you have a dealer that you want to send an educator to, it doesn't hurt to drop the dealer's name and drop your favorite educator in the chat because you know we're going to read it. So Amanda, I love that you sew garments, and we were chatting just a little bit before the live show. So I would also love the audience, and now I see Facebook's working too. So good. I always wait a second for everybody to roll in. But how old were you when you started sewing?
Oh gosh, probably like 10, 11. My mom always quilted. She made my clothes. So I remember being little and like playing with the scraps on the floor while she was sewing. So yeah, I think it was maybe around 10 or 11 that I started playing around with my mom's machine. And the rest is history. Now I've been sewing ever since. I did a lot of costume design before joining the Brother team. So I've sewn all kinds of things, all kinds of fabrics. I used to do a lot of historical stuff. And I'm a new mom. So right now my big thing to sew is kids' clothes. So that's a new, exciting, fun thing for me to sew. They're a lot faster, I'll say that.
The little tiny little cute outfits.
Exactly.
So, I love that because when you and I were chatting, both of us sew garments. I love the costume side. But the other thing is I started young as well. I think my mom said I was 3 or 4. I don't recall, but I have a picture of some scarf that I made and I was like, oh my goodness. But again, there's no turning back once you start there. So we are so excited that you're here with us. We're excited you're part of Brother because this is going to be amazing. And now you have a new one. So I'm sure we're going to get some tutorials eventually on some cute clothes.
I would love that. I mean, yeah, give me some time, but they do sew fast, so it's great.
They do. So today, and I see some people in here saying, hello, welcome to the party. They don't have an Aveneer, but they want to see these techniques that you're going to show. So you're going to gear some of the different features on the Aveneer that you love for garment sewing. So I'm going to be back here high-fiving you, but I'll watch the chat and let you take it over because these are some features that we haven't really focused on a lot. We focus a lot on the embroidery side and quilting, and this is still sewing, but there's some things that they have not seen yet.
Yeah, I'm excited. For some of you, this may be very basic, simple information, like a guideline, but for others, it might be something you haven't thought of before. So for me, these are just features that I found on the Aveneer that just make garment sewing a little bit easier. So yeah, I'm gonna jump in and bear with me as I change cameras and all that. But the first thing, the simplest thing I want to show you all is guidelines, as I said. When you sew a garment, you have seam allowances usually already in the pattern. So you can set up your guidelines just to make it a little bit easier to sew. So I'm going to switch my cameras and show you that.
And while she switches, I do have your chat all in here. Everybody's giving you a huge warm welcome, Amanda. You'll have to go back and read these comments later. And Joyce said she started at 10 too, sewing at 10, and she is now, wait, make sure I read this right. I missed it, Joyce.
Oh, no.
I'll find it again. A lot of people are posting how old they were when they started to sew. They love it. And Julie wants to know, a little boy or a little girl that you're sewing for now?
Oh, little girl. So, and she's just turned 1. So I've got a lot of exciting frilly outfits in my future.
So fun. Yeah, Joyce is 69 now. So she's been sewing all these years. So
all right.
Amanda, this is going to be inspiring. Take it away.
Yeah. All right. So simplest thing, guidelines. I want to show you that. So something I like to do, if you don't know, you can pick which stitch your machine starts on. So I really like a 10-3 or 1-03, excuse me. And that's just my center stitch. And you can do a little back stitch at the top and the bottom, which if you're garment stitching is really helpful. So this is my stitch that I like to keep my machine on just to start. And then let's bring in the guidelines. And I'm going to, you can bring up here. So this is how we bring up guidelines. We have all these options. And I'm going to switch my camera just so you can see the guideline here. So you can see this on my fabric. It's really easy to see, which I love. And right now, my guideline is just my sewing path. So again, for those of you that are garment sewists, you want that line to be over here. And it is as easy as moving your guideline over it, just like this. So I can pick, I can just keep sliding over, and you can see on my screen, it's a little yellow right here, but I can actually change that color to see it better. There you go. You can see it on my screen. So I can just keep moving this over. And while I move this over, I'm going to move over here so you can see it. Now this red line is a little tricky, so I'm going to change it back to my yellow so you can see it. There you go. And I'm going to keep moving this over. So you can see my line just keeps moving. And you can decide, you can either use your machine right here, or you can use, it actually lists millimeters. So I could set it to the millimeter, half inch, however I want to set this is up to me. So right now, this pattern that I have for this little girl's dress is a half inch. So I've got this lined up with my half inch mark, and I'm good to sew. It's that easy to get your guideline into place. Now you can do even more adjustments on here. I can actually change if I want how short my line is here. Right now I keep it on the longest. I find that's easiest for sewing clothes, to have that line extend as far as possible. You can even add things like grids. So here I'm going to pop a grid on, and you can see here. Now I don't know, I wouldn't generally sew with my grid on for just basic seams, but say you have like a decorative outline on your fabric or something like that, you could use this grid and play around to kind of match it up and sew evenly with the grid. So that's cool. I generally keep the sub lines off when I'm doing just basic garment construction. So I'm going to go back to my main here. And something you may not think about, again, simplest is just having this straight line here at my half inch mark, is you can actually add a crosshair line that's going to go across here. And let me, again, just for the screen, change this to red so you can see it, and then I'll change it back. And what you might not think about is, say you're doing a corner and you want to, you know how like if you're doing a collar, you come up to that point and you might overshoot it if you're trying to eyeball your half inch going down. I can show you in a second. But what I like to do is actually move this so that my guideline is also a half inch down. And that way, when I'm doing corners, I can see where the edge of my fabric is coming up. So I'm taking a minute just to pop here, and it's more fun to watch it on the machine. So let me change it here. So this is the guideline I am moving right now, is this cross line, and I'm moving it to a half inch. So this is how I like to sew things. If I'm going to have a collar or anything, I can sew. I'll set this in here. I'm just this is a random piece just to show you guys, but I can start sewing and I can watch. My guideline is right here, so I'm following that. Keep going. And now because I have this subline, when I get to my point, I can stop, lift up and turn and see my guideline is perfectly matched up to do really nice corners. So that's something, if you don't want to mark that corner on a collar or anything like that, having those guidelines in place, you can see here, I'm going to cut that, is really handy to have that corner already on your machine with the seam allowances you need. So you can see here, that's my 1/2 inch. So I really love just the simplicity of using a guideline when I'm doing any kind of garment sewing. And you can change that to be 3/8 of an inch, any of those that you need, 5/8. You can change the color, you can add the crosshair. So I find that just really handy. And one last thing I wanted to say, this is just a little fun about sewing a straight stitch. If you have that the multi-foot control, you can actually change what the buttons do on that control. And you can do things like have it reverse or thread cut as you're stitching, which is really handy for garment sewing. So you can change that. It's page 3 of your machine. I can actually choose what I want. So for me, this is garment sewing wise, I want to be able to reverse at the end of a stitch, and then I want to be able to cut my threads. So I actually have that set in my settings. So that's just a little something extra with the multifunction foot control if you have that connected to your machine while garment sewing. I don't know if any questions have come in about guidelines. They're really simple, but they're really handy to have.
They're really handy. And I love the way that you showed this. We're ending your seam. I've not seen that before. And that's really, really handy. And also when you turn to be able to see that perfectly. So drop your questions in the chat. I saw somebody saying, do we have these features on other machines? Well, here's the thing is the Stellaire. We've had the Sew Straight guideline for quite a while, but there's a lot more on the Aveneer, which is what she's showing you here. So check your machine to see if you've got the same thing. All right, Amanda, back to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that you can change the colors here, you can change the size of your crosshairs, you can add a guide, like all the things, is you have so many options. And something I forgot to point out that I'm excited about is if I have my guideline over here, say I'm sewing a zipper or something and I want to move it over there, it's as simple as touching this button and boop, it's on the other side, and that's my 1/2 inch is marked. So just a really handy button right there is changing it over to the other side. So with that, guidelines, the next kind of simple thing I want to talk about, but one of my favorites is that you can do overcast stitches on your Aveneer. And I know, a lot of machines will have built-in overcast stitches, but I find that it's just really quick and easy on this machine to switch over. So on this machine, it's 16, 17, and 18 are your overcast stitches. And before I show you an example, I wanted to bring up something I made since I was talking about my daughter. This is a little blouse I made, which is pretty cute. But something about me when I garment sew is I don't want to do any hand sewing. I don't really like to switch machines if I don't have to. I just want to knock them out. So having the overcast stitches on my machine is really great because on something like this, it's lined. The only place that I have a raw edge is just this little seam of this ruffle. And I didn't want to get out my serger to just do 2 little seams or to, change out the thread. So to have it right on my machine and all I have to do is press a button and change out the foot, and I can use the same thread color I have on my machine. I really love that. It's also great if you don't have a serger. Then you can use the overcast stitches. So like I said, the 16, 17, and 18, and I can show you here what this one looks, and I'll do stitches. So this, if you can see that here on my camera, yeah, you can see that. So this is stitch 118, and I think that looks so good. on my machine, no serger necessary, right there in that seam. And it's as simple as choosing this stitch. And I'm actually going to turn off my guide line because we don't really need it for this. There we go. And here's the foot. So you just pop on the G foot. I've been sewing with the J, if anyone was wondering, but now I have my G on there. And there is just like a little edge knife here on the foot that I line up my fabric to. And I can get going. And like I said, there's 3 others. So I could pick, say I want to do number 17. While I'm at it, I might as well project it so you can see what that looks like. So you can preview stitches on your machine. So that's a really cool feature of the Aveneer. And of course, like on the inside of the garment, previewing this isn't as necessary. It's just fun. So here's what that 18 looks like that I really like. That's my go-to. But I'm going to finish this out on a 17 just to show you that. All right, so you can see, let me switch so you can see a little better. I think on this camera you can see a little bit. So now I have it white on white or white on this like light fabric, but you can see how this nicely finishes my edges. You could do this on a single piece, or you could do it like I do. I tend to finish my edges after I sew them, but you could overcast the whole piece and then put them all together so all your edges are nice and finished. But yeah, that 1-18 is my favorite. I think that looks really nice, and I have a nice secure overcast on each side. I want to show, so you might be asking, well, what are all of these? There's a whole bunch more that are just for stretch stitches. So I have some little examples here just to show you. If you've ever been intimidated by sewing stretch, this is one of the easiest ones. So this is stitch 122, and this is actually designed to stitch and reinforce the edge of stretch fabric. So this is just a little spandex, and I use that stitch here to create a seam. So, and of course I've got white thread in there so you can see it, but when you pull this, you can see that a little bit, but you wouldn't see it if you were using that stitch in the same cut thread color. So you have all these stitches that are for stretch fabrics that you can overcast as well, just like this. So you can see what they look like. Those use the J foot. So that's something I really love, is that I can do some overcasting on this machine. I can preview it with the projector to see how it's going to look on the edges. I can sew my my stretch fabrics as well. And this machine handles it all beautifully. I don't have to mess with any settings. I can just pick my stitch and pop on my foot and sew whatever I need to without any other machines.
I love that. And there's a lot of people here, Amanda, that have not moved up to a serger yet, or haven't added a serger to their sewing room. And the question is always, how can I sew knits and how can I finish my seams so they look nice? That's a perfect way to do that.
Yeah. These machines have a lot built in. I mean, how many I'm counting? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 just for stretch fabrics. I think two of them are just to like finish the edges, but there's 2 or 3 of them that you can sew and finish your edges. I have a little example here that I've done on spandex. So say you're doing a bathing suit and you want to add elastic to your fabric. This is one of those, I think this is the double diamond stitch that I use just to sew my elastic on. Here, folded it over, and I've got my my swimsuit edge all done. So this is all done without a serger, all just using the stitches built in. And I didn't mess with any of the settings. Like, of course you can change the width and all that. But the stitches themselves are really great just as is. So you can sew knits, you can finish the edges, you can overcast your woven fabrics, all right there.
And another thing, Amanda, even if you do have a serger, a lot of times you're trying to finish a little area or something really small, and you might not have the matching thread to fill the serger. This is a great backup plan for that.
Yep, that's exactly this little ruffle. I just wanted to finish just this little 2-inch piece, and I just didn't want to get my serger out. So change the threads, make sure, all that. So I just popped on the foot and easy enough. So yeah, I love the overcast stitches. Yeah. So
sounds good. I'm seeing if any you all can leave your questions. I just received a notice that Facebook was having a little bit of an issue on the Facebook sews. So if you missed the beginning, don't worry. You'll be able to watch the whole thing from the beginning later. So I think everybody's in here now. Drop your questions and we are live. So, all right, Amanda, back to you.
Awesome. So perfect segue. Next thing, if you can see on this, this little blouse, I have buttonholes and buttons. So like I said, I don't like to do any hand sewing. I want to do everything on my machine at once and just knock it out. And I did both the buttonholes and the buttons on this machine. So I'm going to show you that. And if you haven't seen the buttonholes on this machine, it's really cool. You're going to be really excited. I know Kathy Stipe did a video about buttonholes, I think last spring, April maybe. So you can check out that. She does, but I'm going to do like a little quick demo of that buttonhole foot because it's really cool. And then I'm going to sew buttons with the machine. No hand needle required. All right. So, I mean, some people...
You're going to see everybody in there studio. High five. We don't want to do hand sewing.
Exactly. If you love hand sewing, by all means, get your needle out. But I'm going to show you if you want to do it on the machine, you can. All right. So buttonholes, super cool on this machine. First thing you need to know is here's your buttonhole foot, the A+ foot, really cool. It has a slider so we can set our button in here to automatically get the size. So no trying to figure that out. Also a removable plate. So I'm going to use it without the plate just so you can see the projection a little bit better. So take that off and I'm going to turn off all that now. So this plate just goes on here like this. Oop, hold on. If I can get it on. Sometimes snapping these on, I struggle, especially when I'm trying to do it on camera. There we go. Okay, so my A+ foot is on there. That was not as smooth as I wanted it to be, but that is fine. So back to here, I have all these buttonhole options. There's so many different kinds, super exciting. Right now, 4-06 is one of my favorites. It's just like a cute little rounded buttonhole. It's good for kids' clothes. But you can change the color of it here, which is helpful for you all to see it on the screen, but it's going to be even more helpful when we project it. So let's project. I have here, I have my little faux shirt front here for you to see. And let's project this buttonhole so you can see. All right. So this is really cool, is that I get to preview my buttonhole up here. And again, I'm going to change the color a little bit so you can see it better. Yellow might be good. Yeah, yellow is good on this teal. So if you're not familiar, you can actually change settings down here using your stylus. So let me move my camera out just slightly so you can see that. So things I can change while previewing my buttonhole is I can change the color. So you can see here, it's changing it back there. And that yellow just works really well for us. So I'm going to get back to the yellow. And then I can change the type of buttonhole. So I can actually, oh, not, sorry, that's not buttonhole. I'm pressing the wrong thing. But this is the projection of the back. So depending on your fabric, you might want to use a different color as your background to be able to see better. For my purposes, the black really works well. So you can play with all these, and you're gonna, with this many, you're gonna find something that works for you. This is where you go. I pressed the wrong thing. This is where we go to preview our different buttonholes. So there we go. See how they're popping up? So I could go for the more square one. That just changed from that round buttonhole that I had originally. So you can actually preview them here. If I want one that's a little bit of a bigger hole here, I can just click that. And okay, but I can keep changing my buttonhole there and preview it on my fabric. I can also change the width and the length of my stitches, so I can really get a custom button hole of my choosing by just all looking on the bed of my machine. Now, I want to put a button in here so you can see what happens. So right now, I think this is set at my original setting because obviously this is really big. I can use this reset button. It's going to take a moment. And see how it just resized my buttonhole? So it took note of how wide this is. If I set a button in and press that again. Here we go. So now I have the exact size buttonhole I need for this type of button. So that's really fun to be able to see and preview my button on my fabric. Now it gets really cool because we're going to turn on the guidelines for the buttons. So on my screen here, I'm just going to click my guide here. And here's really fun. I get to play with all this stuff. So big reveal. Here's all those lines showing up on my fabric. I have a cloth edge guide, so I can choose the spacing between the center of my button and the edge of my shirt. Say it's 3/8, half an inch, 5/8, whatever it is, I can move that line so that I have a guideline here on the edge of my fabric of where I want the edge of my shirt to go. I then can still see the projected buttonhole here. And then I can see the spacing of where my other buttons are going to go. So that's what these little sets of lines are. These are the next buttons. So if I switch over here, I can show you that. So cloth edge guides, I can turn that on and off. I showed you that. So I could change that distance to whatever I want it to be. If I want to keep going, here you go. I can get it to a 1/2 inch. I'll leave it at a 1/2 inch. I can change the spacing of my buttonholes. So I have this set up to show you something that was, again, doing kids' clothes. I have this little shirt that I had made, this little blouse for my daughter. And this I was able, because it's such a small space, I was able to see where all 3 buttonholes were going to go before I even stitched them. So I sat here and I got to play with the spacing and kind of shift them ever so slightly until I was happy with where those 3 were going. So the fact that you can see 3 at a time is really cool. So that's how I used to do that. But of course, I'm sure you want to see one being stitched out. So I'm going to change my spacing. You can see here, I'm going to just, you see how these are growing as the spacing is growing. So I'm going to make this 2 inches because I think that's a little more common. And something you want to note if you are doing this is it's 2 inches from bottom of the button to bottom of the button. So you take into account the size of your button. It's not the spacing between button to button. So to use this, to use all these guidelines, what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out where I want my first one to be. So I'm happy with that. You know, I don't have it marked, but if you were doing a shirt, you might have that marked somewhere. So once I'm happy with it, I'm going to slide it under and I'm going to match up my cloth guideline there. And I'm going to drop my foot and I'm going to sew. Oh, you know what? I need to hold on. My foot control is, if you garment sew, you know that you love your foot control, but if you're going to use the buttons, you've got to unplug that. So I'm going to do this button. And it does it all for me. I don't have to do anything. I'm just hanging out here.
It's so quiet.
It's so quiet. Oh my God. I mean, this machine, when it embroiders, it's amazing. My daughter can be napping downstairs. My sewing room is right above hers. It's not a problem. I can be sewing, I can be embroidering, and it's so quiet. So there we go. That's my first buttonhole. Of course, maybe you wouldn't do this in a contrasting color, but this is what I did so you can see it. And to use this feature, or to do the spacing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this up to line it up with my lines back here. I can also, depending on where you started, I can move them down here. So you have 2 points to choose. I'm going to just keep working down my shirt. So I'm going to slide this up so that this button is back with that line, and I'm just going to slide it back underneath and check all my guidelines and put my foot down and go again. So it's as simple as that. I don't need to use, I don't know what that tool was called. There's like, I feel like a lot of us have it. It's like an accordion looking tool that you use to space your buttonholes. I don't know what tool.
I have
one. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes. I don't know exactly what the name of it is, but yeah. And that works, but it's not always even at each end. I mean, you have to like literally lay it flat. And this is so easy. Patty was saying, so you don't have to pull the lever down like on some other machines? Nope.
Nope. It's going to do it all for me, and it finishes it, and it cuts my thread, and I just need to trim my little, oh, I'm wrong camera. Here we go. It just was bound to happen. So yeah, I just need to trim my little thread here, and perfectly look how even they are on there. So, and I can just keep on working down my shirt. So love these. Love that I know it's going to fit my button. I don't have to test that. I don't have to test spacing. It's all in the machine.
I love it. I love it.
Those tools. I forget what they're called.
I know. I think someone just called it a Simflex gauge.
Oh,
I bought a ton of these recently because Amanda had some groups in my studio this last fall, and we were doing shirts. And I said, you can use the Aveneer, you can use my Aveneer and sew all your buttonholes on. But some of them were going home to sew them, so I gave each one of them as a gift. And it's the same thing. It does stretch out, but it's not. You have to really double check that it's accurate, because when you get to the end, it's kind of flexible a little bit, and it's not always quite as good. Someone's asking you if you want to do the buttonholes sideways. Can you do that on there?
Yes. So I will show you. You can see here, this will turn your buttonholes. So your guidelines will change. If you can see here, let me, can you see this a little bit? But this is how your spacing and your guidelines are going to change on your fabric. Let me just pull something in here so you can see. So this is my spacing line here. So as I move that, right now it's at 2 inches. I can't, if you can see that moving. So this is how I would do something across. I would sew a button, slide it to meet up with this line. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, you can turn these. Your guidelines are going to change depending on how you're sewing your buttons. So super cool. I love the projected buttonholes. It's awesome.
Very cool feature. I remember when the Aveneer first came out, we were all talking about, what are the new cool features? What does it have? And someone said, Angela, wait till you see the buttonholes. And I was like, oh, I love this.
Yeah. And like, it's, buttonholes are one of those things that you make this whole garment. You usually do them at the end. And if you don't want to mess it up. So, and they're a pain to pull out. So the fact that these are, you see everything the whole time, your projection's there, so you can see what you're doing. It's lovely. So now, next thing I want to show is sewing buttons on your machine. I don't think, I want to say I was like, oh gosh, maybe it was like 5 years ago, I learned that you can sew a button on a sewing machine. I did not realize you could do that.
Oh, it's the best.
So yeah, so let's, I'm going to show that to you. All right. So let's turn off, we don't need any guidelines for this. We'll turn off our guidelines. We'll turn off our projection. Even though they're fun, we don't need them. So this is sewing your button right here. It's 4-23. Boop, that's it. So all we need is the M foot. So I have my M foot here, and your button's gonna go, there's my camera. Okay, your button's gonna go between this plate here. And something you might not know is this one also has a little lever to do a shank. So I'm gonna show you that. It does all the things. So let me put this on the machine. All right. So to sew a button on here, I have this one pulled, and I'm going to slide. You can see here, I'm going to slide my button in just like that. And let me see if I can get closer with my camera so you can see. Yeah, that's better. So what's important is you want to just make sure that your holes are visible between these two marks. If they're any wider, it's not going to work. But this is majority of, shirt and garment buttons. I have all these size buttons that, I lost one, but I have all of these that fit in there just fine. So I just want to make sure that button is nowhere to be found. Here it is. Okay. So to put a button on, I have it in place. Again, you might have it marked where you want it to go. But once I'm happy with placement, I'm going to drop my foot here. And I want to make sure that my needle is going to jump in those holes. So you're going to use the hand turn here, dial, to just check and see how on this one, it's not going to go through those holes. So I'm going to just adjust my whip a little bit. And now it should be good to go. So I'm just testing up, and that's handy. Perfect. Okay, so once I'm happy with my hole spacing there, I can just get started. And it's going to do a little tie off for me and thread cut when it's done. And then I'm just going to slide it, and boom, that's my button nice and secure on there. And you can do buttons that have two sets of holes. All you do is you slide. I keep hitting hitting my camera, but you just slide the button and do it again. So I can show you that. Say I have this bigger button here. I would set that in. I hope you guys can see that on that dark one, but each time you're going to want to just check that it goes in the holes. Okay. And it would be helpful if I lower my foot. There we go. And go ahead. And I can slide it. And you know what? I did it a little wrong. You want to do the first ones and then you want to bring it forward. So that's my bad. But what I can do is that I've got this, I'm caught on the back of my button there, is I can just turn this around. So you could do them one at a time like this. So I would just get this back in here like that. But when you do 4 holes, you want to work back and then forward. That's going to get you those 4 holes. And if you have any tails like this, you can just pull them through with a pin. And you're good to go. And I'll show you. What I also really love is just like how nice and clean the backs are of these stitches with these buttons. They're really secure and nice and clean little dots on the back of my garment. And then lastly, with these buttonholes is if you want to add a little shank, there's a little lever for that. So I'm going to put this back in place just like that. And I'm going to bring this forward. Do you see that? I think it's a little hard to see because it's clear, but there's a little lever that brings that forward. And when you sew a button, that is going to give you a little bit of space. Again, I'm checking it every time. I don't want to break a needle, especially on camera. So all right. So when I pull this out, I now have space here that if you don't have your threads cut, so that's a helpful tip when you do the shank. If you want to add a little shank, don't turn off the thread cutting on your machine, because then you can bring this tail, it's a little short here, bring this down underneath and wrap it. And then I have a nice shank button, but that'll give you room for that thread shank if you want to build that. So you can do all of these on the machine. And of course you might pick some prettier buttons and matching thread and all that. So sewing buttons on the machine, super fun. I love doing it.
Super fun. And I know people are going to ask, so when do you need a shank on a button? What is that exactly, in case they don't know? But if you are anywhere in the northern eastern side of the country right now, you look at your jacket, because I'm pretty sure your big oversized jacket has a shank underneath of it. In case you don't know what it does, it keeps your button away from your fabric so you can have thicker fabric. So in case you've never seen that,
it lifts it up, and then you put a few runs of thread there, and that'll help the fabric when you button it to just sit nicely and not be squished against your button. So you use it, I mean, a shank on a button you would use on almost anything except something really, really lightweight. Maybe not, you don't necessarily need it on like a shirt, but like Angela said, like winter coats, anything even remotely heavy, it just gives it a nice raise so your buttons don't get sucked down into that buttonhole. Yeah.
Into the fabric. And they're probably all right now working on their jacket patterns because we need a lot of that. Everyone's saying they love this. Even better than using a toothpick. Yes, even better than using
exactly. Oh gosh, putting a toothpick in my machine would make me so nervous to have it underneath. So this is great. It's built into the machine. They thought of everything, that little shank spacer in there with that lever. So
they did. I've got a couple questions that came up here. Jackie says, does this machine identify what the stitches are? So she's kind of going back to the original where you were showing the preview of the stitches and things like that. She wants to know if it tells you, if you hover over, will it show you your what it is, what you're doing?
So up here, it'll tell you the name of the stitch, which is really cool. And also if you hold your finger on it, I believe it does it, or if you use a mouse. Well, this won't do it because I tapped it. But if you can hold your finger over like your categories, and you can see it says straight and overcasting. So I know where that is. On 2, these are all my decorative stitches. So whether you use it, you can plug a mouse into your machine and hover just like you were on a computer. Or you can just hold your finger to see what they are. But when you tap on any one of these stitches, here's a bound buttonhole. It tells you exactly what it is. And I've used this before. We don't have time for this, but if you do any kind of mending, this darning stitch is lovely to use if you got a little hole in your sweater or something like that. And it just says it up there. So that's how you can, it'll help you. And there's a lot of, if you go in here, there's a lot of operation guides, sewing guide, pattern explanation. So you can actually go through the machine to help it tell you what stitches to use when. Like even if you go into sewing guide, you can click buttonholes. Here we go. So here's buttons. It's going to tell me how to use that M foot. So you could totally come back and rewatch this video, or you can do it right on your screen in the machine.
I love those tutorials. You know, Amanda, you just taught me something new. I always have my portable mouse connected to my Aveneer, and when you hover over, it shows everything. But I did not realize that you could hold your finger on there and it does the same thing. So that's a new one for me. I'm super excited about that.
Yep, you can just hold your finger and you get that. And I think we do have a little more time. The last thing I wanted to show you that I find super helpful for garment sewing is stitch memory. So you can actually save your own stitches or save the way that you stitch them. So this is all, I'm just going to talk about it. I don't really need to show any examples, but where does this come into play and what is it? So say, you're sewing, I mean, the one that I use it most for is zigzag. So let me go backwards. So I love making bathing suits. This is a little bathing suit that I made for my daughter. And if you've ever sewn bathing suits or elastic, you know that you really fuss around with your zigzag stitches and what size zigzag you need. So I find this is a time where I don't want to have a piece of notebook paper or an index card next to my machine where I'm, writing, oh, this was a 4 width and a whatever length. Like I can actually make my stitches and save them in the machine. So I'll show you how I do that. So for something as simple like this zigzag on this swimsuit, you're over here. There we go. So I would choose my zigzag, whichever one I want here, just like that. And I can change my width to whatever I want, 6, I don't know. I'm just making this up here, but you can see. But all the changes I can make to this stitch, now I want to save it. So I'm just going to tap memory. It's going to give me a little thing. It's not going to do anything. It's just going to say, wait a while, boom. So now say I want to use this stitch later. I hit retrieve. And there it is. That's the 6 millimeter width. The length I had set, it's in here. And every single stitch in this on the screen here, you can save 5 different stitches. So you can see here, I have a bunch of different ones for my zigzag. The first one I have is just the original setting that I put in there with all the original numbers, which just a fun tip on this machine, anything that's like how the stitch was intended or designed, I guess, is highlighted in black. So this is, if I reset it, this is the ones it would be because they're all in black. That's the default. That's the word I was looking for, default. So I have 2 here, and that I know is what I use for my bathing suits. I just like this width and this length whenever I'm stitching elastic in a bathing suit. So I have that saved, and to retrieve it, I'm just going to tap 2 and hit retrieve, and it automatically changes it. So the fact that I have this big stitch library, but then I can also make and save my own stitches. And now I know, all right, whenever I'm sewing a bathing suit, oh, I pressed the wrong thing. It's going to save it. But again, I can just delete this by deleting it. So now I have that extra space there. But if I want a little wider of a zigzag for bathing suits or whatever, I can just retrieve that. So I love that I can save my stitches. Another place I use that is just in the basic straight stitch in my memory. My number 2 here is the longest width. So I use that to make a gathering stitch, and I have that just saved in my machine for me. I don't need to mess around with my settings. So that's something I really, really love about this machine is all the saving and the customization I can do. So yeah.
I love that. So I'm looking at the comments. First of all, everyone says your garments look amazing. The bathing suit is so cute. Jackie said she only sews bags and quilts, but now she wants to sew garments.
Yay.
I was saying yay to that too. So I got to tell you, Amanda, I am a top stitching snob, and I got to give you a huge shout out. When you held that dress up, I was like, it looks amazing. Absolutely amazing. You passed my top stitching.
Oh, good. Okay. Good. I'm glad you won't be judging me in secret or anything.
Never, never, never. No, I love it. Everybody's leaving comments here. Cute outfits. They look so professional. I agree. I agree. And, I'm so glad you showed some of these features today because we really haven't pointed these out. They seem very simple, but they're not. To be able to save your stitch, to go back for a basting stitch or your zigzag stitch or something else you're doing, even the decorative stitches you showed, you talked about it's not fun to rip out buttonholes. It's really not fun to rip out decorative stitches. And if you can see those stitches right on your fabric first, you know if it's going to be the right size, the right width, or if it's overcasting or if it's decorative, any of those.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, all of it. It's so the projection on this is like so helpful just to, and we take for granted like a straight stitch or a zigzag and like we have these little extra tools and guidelines and previews that we can use to make it a little easier. So
yeah. Joy says, thank you for doing a garment stitching show. I agree. How many can you put in the memory? Evelyn wants to know. Was it just 5 per stitch or 5 total?
5 per, but you can easily, like, I can show you, you can just clear them out. So, you know, if I don't know if I have anyone in here. I don't, but I know I have a bunch in the zigzags. So if I click see, I always click the memory button. I want to click retrieve, but here I filled it up. So if I tried to add another one, it would say, you're all full, but I can just delete, and I could choose this one and delete it and make more room like that. And then I can change this and make more. So yeah, I can have 5 in there. If you do any kind of swimwear or lingerie, you know that you have a whole bunch of different zigzags in one project. So super handy.
And you know, there's one that I was just thinking about when you were playing with that 5.0 stitch. I use it for basting all the time. And usually I'm click, 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 click. I mean, not that 5 clicks is that much to get your length to go up, but to save it to memory, I have to put that on to remember to do that, because I use that stitch all the time. Or if you're top stitching and you want to change back and forth, at least you don't have to try to remember. Like you said, you don't need a notepad. You just go back to your stitch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's super quick. And sure, you can click the width 5 times or whatever, but you can also click retrieve and retrieve.
Way more fun. Anybody have any questions for Amanda? Mostly it's all comments. They love what you're showing. Such an awesome machine.
It is. It's awesome. And now I need to do more embroidery garments together.
Oh gosh, so much fun. That machine does so much. So does it save the offset as well? What do you mean, Patty? Like as if she went to the left or right on the needle? I'm going to guess that's it.
Yes. I think that's, so I can, here, let me show you. Yeah. So yes, I can do the left, right shift and then add that to memory. And when I retrieve it, you can see it there. I think that's what you're talking about. So it'll tell you, it'll save the position, as well as the tension if you change the tension. However, I find on this machine, I don't know about you, Angela, but I've never had to change tension. It's all,
I've never had to, not with the embroidery, not with anything. Everything I've stitched comes out beautiful, no matter what stitch length I use. One of my favorite stitches, now I'm going to save it first thing, is the triple stitch, or they call it the stretch stitch. And I like it at a 4.0 for top stitching. I'm going to save that one in there because that's my go-to for everything. So I'm going to have a whole list of stuff I better start saving in there.
Yeah. And if you, whatever, I don't know if you know this, but whatever stitch you use last is the stitch that will be brought up. So you can actually set it to be like your favorite can be the one that when you press it, it's there. And then you can like save that reset one as like later on the list. Like it'll bring up whatever you, like if I come back to 1-8, it's what I used last time. I'm not explaining it well, but.
No, you are. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I think that that's another thing that we all forget about, or maybe didn't even know, that once you have that stitch saved that way, that's how it comes back up. You know, it's really funny you say that. About, I don't know, maybe about 6 months ago, I was working on a project. I was making skirts for my nieces, and I went back to find the zigzag stitch that I was using. I had not saved it to memory, but it did come up exactly what I was using. I didn't even think about that until you just said that.
You do have to be careful, because if you like are basting and then you forget that you were basting or using a gathering stitch, and then you start sewing and you're like, why are my stitches so big? Oh yeah, because the machine remembered what I did last time. So.
Absolutely. It's smarter than we are, thankfully.
Yeah, it gives us more time to think about other things like picking cute fabrics and buttons and all that. So
absolutely. Evelyn says, does this machine also do embroidery? Yes, yes, yes. This is the Aveneer. This is the creme de la creme machine that Brother has.
You can see it behind me, and I love that I don't have to, my embroidery unit stays on. So here, let me slide this out of the way here. So right now I'm on sewing mode, and my embroidery unit has slid all the way back here. But if I go to embroidery, it comes forward. So I don't have to switch anything out. I can easily go from embroidery to sewing and back by just touching a button, boom, and it's out of my way. And this is pretty far that I can do all my stitching, make a shirt, make all kinds of garments without the embroidery unit here being in the way. It's really nice that it just tucks itself away.
I love that. And you can take it, you can take the whole arm off too if you so decide to do that. But I end up, when I'm doing small projects, especially with you, if you're doing stuff for your daughter, that's so tiny. You don't even need more space than that.
Exactly. Yeah. So I having to take this off is not anything I need to do. I can sew everything with the way it is. But yes, you could pull this off if you're doing like a tight sleeve or anything like that. So
that's awesome. Let's see if I'm missing any other questions. Oh, Jill, I will see you in Boca tomorrow. It's going to be cold, but I'll see you in Boca doing a tour of the top stores, the Brother Dealer, and we're having a lot of fun. I thought, what a great time to go to Florida to do a tour of the stores. And then, and now I think I jinxed myself because now it's going to be like 50 degrees tomorrow, but I'm not complaining. The sun is shining, right?
Yeah.
Patty says, so you don't have to reset the stitch each time is what I meant.
Yeah, so you either save it in memory and you can pull the various stitches, or whatever stitch you used last time will be the one when you touch that button, the main one again. That's the one that will come up. And then you can hear, let me go here. So say, I think, which one did I just mess around with? Was it this one? Yeah, so this one, that's not the original like left, right shift where it is. It's a little offset. You can see +2. So every time I come back to the stitch, this is what I did last time. So all I need to do to get back to my original is hit reset, and you see it resetted it back to 0. And I know that this is the default because everything is highlighted in black. So yeah, it'll go. And if I want to retrieve something, that other one is back in here all over again. So lots of different ways to get to those stitches.
So simple, so easy. And so I know a lot of you like to pop in during the replays too. So leave your comments and questions. We had a little blurb, it looks like, on Brother Sew's Facebook page. So we'll make sure we get that video back up there. If you only got a portion of it, if you want to watch it really fast, when we're done in about 5 seconds, you can go over to Brother Sew's YouTube channel and be sure to subscribe. You'll never miss a live show, and you can come back and watch Amanda's show. And I have Brother Sew's scrolling down there, Angela Wolf down there, because I try to keep the calendar up to date. But you can ask questions after too, because the Brother Social team will send them to us. Amanda, this has been an amazing tutorial. I love all the tips, the garment sewing tips. You know, that's like really what I love the most. But your clothes are so cute. So I hope you come on again soon. I saw some people say, we want a bathing suit tutorial. I'm with you.
I mean, I love bathing suits, and they're very easy. And I shouldn't say easy, but once you do one, you will be hooked as well. Because it's just a bunch of zigzags.
You know what's so funny is out of everything that I sew, beautiful jackets, jeans, all of that, bathing suits are so expensive, and I still to this day have not made one. And the fabric, you only need like that much fabric, right?
Yeah, you need very little. I mean, for this, I just use scraps, but for something for me, it's still not less than a yard, I'm sure.
Yeah. So we have everyone's putting that in the bucket list. Amanda, they are loving that you came on. They're saying, welcome to the brother party. Great to see you. I'm sure we're going to see her again.
Yes, I'd love to come back. Well, and thank you everyone for being so welcoming on my first one. This was fun.
We love it. Amanda, thanks so much. And I hope you have a great day. Stay warm, and we'll look forward to more tutorials in the future.
Bye everyone. Thanks.
Bye.